Hello, how are you? This is Tom Omega. This is the INFJ Experience, as I said before, and I want to go live a little bit here today. So I have three watching. So you're coming on in here. How are you, people? So I go back to work a little bit later today on my second shift, but I thought, you know what? I'd like to just do a little bit of a live broadcast with you and talk to you a little bit before I do that. Just let you know things are going well. And of course, the channel is doing well, but we're not here too much to talk about the channel. I mean, to a point, yes, but basically, I'd like to talk a little bit about some of your issues, about what you got on your mind, some of your concerns, things that I may be able to assist in some ways. Now, as you know, this channel is about the MBTI type and about the INFJ in particular. And I usually like to cover some certain issues, topics, and concerns based on the MBTI types and the introverted intuitive mind, especially. Okay, so that's mainly it. But as far as the INFJ experience goes, it's a personality type. It's a rare personality type, one of the 16 in the MBTI types, if you might know. And so basically, it's a very complex, very introverted type personality. And typically, the INFJ is just met with a lot of challenges that typical other personalities don't have. Now, everybody has their own pros and cons in their life. A lot of different personalities have their own issues. Now, each of them have their own structures as far as their alignments and their personality goes, but mainly each and every one of them has their own way of coping. Now, as you know, introverted intuitives, if you are one, they have a certain internal way of coping with their own issues, their own inner strifes in themselves. And typically, that's how they look inward. They introspect mostly in their life to find out more about themselves. And so, mainly what I like to do is talk to and focus a lot on these type personalities. Now, if you have any kind of concerns, any questions, anything like that, I'm here to talk a little bit about that. But as far as the channel goes, this channel is it's a growing channel. I'm still a very small channel, as you know, but I'm basically trying to put this on the map a little bit. That's all. Trying to get myself out here. But mainly this is also to connect. This is a way of finding you out there as well. Now, if you've been steered here to this channel, to this broadcast, then it's maybe you're here for a reason. But yeah, I do like to talk about our concerns and our drawbacks, our concerns and our drawbacks that concern our type. All right. So typically, sometimes I do these at night. Typically, I come out here at nighttime or certain times where I'm, anywhere from 6 p.m. to midnight Eastern Standard Time. But today I've got the Monday morning afternoon, so this is pretty much out of your time zone. And if anybody's seen me before, then say hello. Come on in and say hi if you're one of my familiars. If not, then just hang out with me for a little bit. So, like I said, the INFJ is it's a very rare personality type. In fact, it is the most rare personality out of the MBTI. It is only, I would say, 2 to 1% of the world population. So it's a very rare personality. I mean, that's literally like that's 10 to 20 out of 1,000. I mean, the ratio is very slim. So it's a very slim percentage. So a lot of times INFJs may never even meet another INFJ in their life. They may know a couple here and there. They might have bumped into a few unknowingly, but bottom line, it's just very rare. But a lot of times people don't just think of each other's MBTI type. You don't think, oh, you're of this type, you're of that type. Usually that's kind of oblivious. But there are certain ways that people try to put their decisions together, the way they align their out terms, their long-term plans, maybe their short-term plans, if they think a lot in the now. Are they the emotional types? Are they the logical types? Are they introverted types or are they extroverted types? This is how it all breaks down because there are different types of characteristics in our personalities. Some people are outgoing and some people are shy. Those are the extroverts and the introverts, as you know. And we all know the types. Sometimes they're the types that just love people. They love throwing parties. They love having people around them. They just seem to get more charged with the more people are around. They're the life of the party types. Yeah, these are the extroverts. Then you have those introverts. These are the ones that they might go to the party and they're sitting by themselves. They might be shy or they'll stand off in a corner and just watch people. You know what I mean? And usually they're not sticking around too long. I mean, maybe they do. It's just, but see, this is what I mean. These are the two characteristics right there. Then of course you have the intuitive types, and you have the sensing types. Some people are gathering data from around them through their senses, and this is how they see the world. They see the world for what they're seeing, what they're experiencing. These are the sensors where they're taking the data, the statistics, and the facts in which they see, and this is how they see things. That versus the intuitive types. Now, intuitive people also are gathering information. They're using their senses to gather information, but their intuition looks deeper into their understanding of what they're seeing. They take it into their intuition and they think about it, and they start seeing slight patterns and start looking at projecting future outcomes based on what they see, projecting possibilities as to what the new outcome is going to be. And a lot of times, some of these intuitives, they can be very, let's say, they can see into certain people. They can basically see their motives. They can tell if they're genuine, disingenuine. They can see if they're lying or not lying just based on what they're piecing together in their facial expressions, their eye contact, the way they say things, how they're talking, what they're talking about. They can gather a lot if people are just genuine or if they're basically performative. So then you have the third one, which is the thinking versus the feeling. You get the T or the F. That's kind of a basic understanding. Some people are more emotional types, and they base a lot of their opinions on emotions, and they make decisions on emotions. Yeah, they're governed by their feelings, while other people are more logical. They think, they want to analyze, they want to base things based on logic, which is fine. Yeah, these are very good fun. Excuse me, I'm getting a phone call here, people. I'm gonna have to. Okay, do forgive me, people. So my phone rings while I'm in the middle of using it. It was it really wasn't much of it was a spam. It looked like anyway, potential spam. But yeah, so we have the thinkers and we have the the feelers. So a lot of times, sometimes based on that, you make decisions based on these two. Then of course you have the P versus the J, the perceiving versus the judging in the last part of this. Now this is basically how you structure your ideas. Perceivers are more, they see the world for what it is. It's almost online with their sensing. They're perceiving the world, they're seeing it, and they're usually thinking in the now. They're thinking in the moment, and they're perceiving the world just in the tangible in a lot of ways. While a judger is actually taking a lot of the world and they're seeing it for what it's going to be tomorrow, what it's going to be like in 6 months. They're seeing what it is and seeing how it got to that point and actually seeing how it's going to be beyond. They're kind of seeing a situation and they're going to see how it unravels. I mean, they're looking at it in the now, but they're also looking at it long term. Plus, they're trying to see how things are, how they're structured. They're going to be more apt to look at how they're more kept in order and structured and how deep they go. I don't know if I quite explained out that right. That's not as clear cut. But bottom line is we have each one of these personalities, each one of these 8 different combinations in our personality types align in a different way, which comes out to 16 different combinations. All right, so depending on who you are, if you take a test, you might find out you're an extroverted type, maybe you're an intuitive type, you're a thinker type, or perceiver type. You might be some of these different types that your personality aligns with. All right. Hey, we know the types. Everybody's been to high school. We go to functions and we see them all the time. You always knew, like in high school, there were different kids. And you go to the cafeteria, and I remember these, you know. You go to the cafeteria, and there'd be one table that always had the multiple people around. You know, all they always had the group of people that were on the same table, the cool kids, let's say. Yeah, they were always the ones. Then another table, you had the kind of the nerdy kids, let's say. You know, they were always the ones that had the glasses. They always had the books. They were into like the video games, or they were into science and things like that. They were so you had those types. Then you had the other ones that were kind of the troubled looking ones. They were goth looking ones, and you know they had the different colored hair. They were kind of the oddball, the outside ones looking in. So you always had different types, and you could see these different personalities in your school. Now this is a reflection of what basically society is. There are many different people, different personality types, and they all act different. And not to say every personality type is exactly the same either. I mean, all different personality types are, you know, they could be from different countries, speak different languages, come from different religions, different backgrounds, different ethnic backgrounds, etc. But it doesn't mean they necessarily think identically. Like each INFJ does not think and act exactly the same, think and believe exactly the same things, in other words. I mean, they have their different mindset, their different belief, maybe their different religions or lack thereof. So it doesn't always dictate exactly how you think totally. It's just the way how you align yourself and how you are basically coming to conclusions within your decisions and how you govern your life. And of course, how strong-minded you are, how well you introspect in. A lot of times, introverted people are way more introspective. They spend more time thinking. They're more in their mind. They're more closed off to the world a little bit because they're a little more isolated. And they may be drifting off. You'll see the types. They may just they sipping coffee by themselves, staring off, because they're always in their head thinking, the introverted types. While the extroverted types are always seem to have a gathering. They seem to have a gathering of people around them. So these are your main differences between your personalities. So it all boils down to that. But as I said before, now the INFJ personality type, which I basically base this channel on, is the most rare. And also it's a very deep and complex personality. Now personally, people, I have this personality myself. I do have this particular one. And I've gone through most of my life unaware of what the MBTI was, unaware even what these breakdowns meant. It wasn't until just recently in my life that I started to discover what exactly this MBTI type was, and I started piecing things together. But actually understanding my type and understanding the way my functions aligned with things, I finally had a good idea as to what exactly it was. And it helped me basically figure out a lot of my personality. It was like giving a massive part of a puzzle that I had that I couldn't seem to solve, didn't have the pieces for. Imagine doing a jigsaw puzzle and it's on your table, but somehow you're missing pieces, or you just can't figure out what this piece is and where it goes. And all of a sudden you've been given this information that told you, oh, okay, now I get it. Now you can start figuring out. Now you got about another 40% of that puzzle filled. I mean, not to say it's completely filled. There's still some empty spaces in that puzzle that you haven't figured out. But you get my idea. Somehow you've figured out most of that puzzle by just understanding your MBTI type. And a lot of times INFJs tend to gravitate toward the MBTI because it opens up their eyes so well into who they are. John, I see the eyes. You're watching, John. How are you? Okay, we'll get John out there. Good to see you. Welcome in. So that's basically it. That's basically what it's all about. And I've been liking to do these lives a little bit because I notice too. Sometimes I try to record a video. Now I do videos also too. I'll record them, but occasionally I feel like I'm very rehearsed and I have to do it, and it doesn't really. Sometimes I kind of get stuck. Sometimes I do produce them pretty well. At times I just like to go live because I like to interact too occasionally. I like to make sure I'm interacting occasionally. So either way, it's just a different format for me. So okay, we have 10 out there. Hello, 10 out there watching. So you're just trying to get an idea what this is all about. But bottom line is, yeah, this is like I said, this is we have exactly the channel right now has 888 subscribers. So I'm still, like I said, I'm still a small channel. I've been doing this for about 8 months, almost 9 months, and the channel is growing, and it seems to be taking off. So I want to just keep it going that way. So. But if anybody, listen, if anybody has any concerns, any questions, if you'd like to learn a little bit more about the MBTI, if you have anything you'd like to add, anything you'd like, any concerns, yeah, feel free to enter the chat and enter in some dialogue if you'd like to, people. Okay? But I'll be here for you. I'll be here for you for a little while. I will be here for just a bit. And a lot of times, too, when you enter in a couple of comments and you throw something out there, you give me something to think about, and it puts me into rabbit holes, if you know what I mean. It does. It kind of, you spark things a little bit. You start adding comments. It puts me into like some good frame of minds where I start thinking a little bit, and yeah, I come out of there a little bit. So I start going. Okay, but I will be rebroadcasting this in the future as well. So these will be aired again at a further date. So, but they won't be lost and forgotten. They'll be here. Okay, I promise. Okay, if you catch something, all right. But again, I like to address people's issues too. Okay, what I'd like to talk a little bit about is I've been reading a little bit onto the Carl Jung. I've been reading somewhat into his integration of the shadow, trying to figure out exactly what the shadow is. Now, for anybody been down so many rabbit holes, okay, yeah, you too, John. Yeah, I think that's something that we do. That's an INFJ trait, I think, is because our mind, we have a very, very elaborate mind. And it's full of rabbit holes. Just our mind, just the way we think, we're jumping into rabbit holes in our thinking process constantly. Yeah. And sometimes we overthink and think and kind of chase our own tail down those rabbit holes too. Well, figuratively, I mean. No, but anyway, I have been starting to watch a lot about, I've been studying up a little more on the shadow functions and how Carl Jung had described the integration of the shadow. And I wanted to understand a little bit more. So, I just went on YouTube, online search, Google searches, understanding up, just getting a basic idea. So I guess the shadow functions are basically, it's all of our repressed memories. It's all of our things that we try to keep hidden in our life. Like, for instance, if there's something deep down, like you have a soft spot, something that's in your psyche that you don't like about yourself. Even something you don't like to think about. It could be anything. It could be something maybe you did that you regretted early on in your life. Something so despicable you don't want to think about it anymore. Whatever it might be, it's something that you keep hidden. Okay? And the further you try to repress it, the darker that shadow is. It's like it gets blacker. It's darker the further you're trying to hide it. And occasionally there's things that are in our mind that we want to forget. It's like as soon as they start bubbling up and we think about that, we try our best to just bury it in our own mind. These are our deep, deep shadows. Now, integrating the shadow, as Carl Jung said, is basically making these unconscious shadows come into our consciousness. Now, it doesn't mean you embrace them. He's not saying embrace them, let them come out. He's basically saying you have to face them. You have to bring them out. You can't hide from them. And you have to kind of take these repressed things within your psyche and they have to come out into the light, basically. And when he says integrate them, he's basically saying that you have to face them, not basically you can't run from them. You can't be intimidated by them. Once you see them and you are basically afraid of them, you don't want to think of them, then a lot of times they're always there. They're just bubbling up. They're never resolved. So a lot of times you may project your very own insecurities onto other people. You might just start projecting your insides to the outside. Now we see people do this occasionally, and sometimes with INFJs, it's obvious. We can tell what people are doing. You can tell when people are projecting onto others things that they think are bad about themselves, things they don't like about their own qualities. They project onto others, and these are projections. So a lot of times when you start doing this, you have a way of just getting better control of yourself. You won't be so apt to have an outburst, or somebody won't hit these little soft spots in your life, let's say, by integrating these shadows, these shadow functions. So I don't have. Maybe I don't have the greatest words for it right now, but I'm kind of just still. I was looking into it just last night, but I was going to make a video on it. I thought, wait a minute, I need a little more research. I'm going to make a video eventually on based on that kind of thing, but I think eventually I will. But it's going to have to be it's going to have to be more of a more when I get study up on it, and I'm going to have to get it a little more organized and things. So I thought, yeah, definitely got to make a video about that eventually. But I got to do my homework. I guess bottom line is you got to know what you're talking about. Got to know a little bit more about that. Again, I'm still learning a lot about this whole personality MBTI type, and of course Carl Jung. I mean, some ways he seemed to be kind of disregarded. In some ways, he's not like out in the forefront with Sigmund Freud. I guess they had a kind of a they weren't seeing eye to eye about something, and they kind of drifted their philosophies. They worked together for a while back at one time. Sigmund Freud was like his like mentor in a way, but he came up with his own ideas, Carl Jung, and a lot of them had to do with the fact that he was introverted. He had those intuitive reachings that Sigmund Freud wasn't really looking into, and there was a couple of things they disagreed on. So they did their own thing, bottom line. But yeah, Carl Jung, I mean, he took it to the next level, and that's where the MBTI came from. He came up with those whole functions and how they seem to have their own characteristics and how we make our decisions. So, but when I get a little bit more able to explain that better, eventually I'd like to come up with a better video or an explanation on the shadows. But it kind of reminds me about some of the things I was saying anyway. I mean, what I've been saying on this channel is a lot about, having an awakening or having an awareness of yourself. Sometimes we have to accept ourselves. We have to accept ourselves for who we are and understand that, for one thing, we're not going to change. We have a certain way about us that we try to change in our life. Maybe we try to be normal. We try to fit in with society. And I think we've all tried that. But then it turns out that we're not always meant to. We have our own personality, and it's something that's unmovable. Either you are or you aren't. So sometimes I believe it's just that. I mean, we try to change through our life, but really can't. Not that we can't, but it's just it's like trying to make a leopard into a tiger. They just are what they are. Okay, what you got there? My shadow is really dark. Sometimes oh, wait a minute. Oh, message! You took that away. Okay, all right. I was just reading your message, John, and you retracted it. I was just okay. I didn't quite read the whole thing. It was something about it was dark or something. That's all right. All right. Oh, okay. I get that. That's okay. Oh, maybe. Hey, El Vagabond 777. Good morning, Tom. Great to see you, Tom. No, Tool has a great song 46 and 2 about the shadow. Oh, really? I started listening to a little bit of the Tool band. I was actually steered into that because they're unique. They're different. I started listening to them, and they are different. They're trancy. I noticed, to me it sounded like their music is the guy with the bass. It's like it never quite complete. Diddle doop doop. It's like it should have a couple more, but he kind of ends it. Diddle doop doop, and then he goes to he had a unique way, the bass player. But I always wanted to read their lyrics. I actually bought a CD of Tool. I think it was 10,000 years or something, or days, and it was kind of psychedelic looking. Somebody said they're kind of Pink Floydish, which I kind of see that, but they're more metal. and but 46 and 2. I wanted to get I wanted to get a an album that had listed the lyrics, but they don't print their lyrics in there. And I tried to listen to the singer's lyrics. I could never quite figure that out. So, but many anyway. El Vagabond says that. So that's about the shadow. Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. There's a lot of things written about the shadows. Yeah. I mean, it's usually our dark side. It's just those part of us that we try to keep hidden. Literally, that's why it's the shadow. It's us, but it's our not quite so us. But I mean, Carl Jung said we're supposed to integrate these in order to find our authentic selves. Because a lot of times, like I've said before too, is all these repressed memories and things like that. A lot of our past traumas are are in there, and we're held back when we don't face them, when we don't resolve them, when these things bubble up and we relive them. Now, maybe it wasn't put in the same language as Carl Jung, but basically, if that's part of what integration is, I mean, it's just a matter of as they come up, as you're seeing them come back to review, as you keep resenting them, you face them in the moment. You're supposed to watch them without hating it, without reliving it, without judging it. And if it was somebody that inflicted it upon you, you can't keep hating them because this is what keeps us down as well. These are our shadows in a sense. I mean, these are repressed memories that keep trying to keep us down. Some things that, like I said, we want to keep buried. Those are part of your shadows, exactly. But that's a good point, though. Tool, yeah. That, like I said, I tried to get into Tool. I did, but they got their. They definitely they're an acquired taste. Tool. I got to tell you that whole genre, a Tool. Yeah, there's something, you know. Well, it's good to see a couple regulars are out there. So, what are you doing up this early in the day? Usually, I see you guys later on in the day. But then again, you're asking the same thing of me. What are you doing up during the day? You know. So, yeah, this is gonna. Yeah, like I said, I'm trying to. I go back to work today. I got a night shift, but I thought I could do a couple. I could do a little bit of time, maybe an hour or so. Hour give or take before I have to go to work. So. Hey, Jethro. Jethro's out there too. Yeah, Jethro. I decided to do an earlier one in the middle of the day. I'm gonna go back to work in a couple hours, and so I got a little bit of time. A little bit of time. Hey, okay. He's doing the old Fonzie thing there, you know. All right. But basically, I'm just talking a little bit about shadows. I mean, now listen, if any of you guys, anybody out there that has a little bit of insight into the shadow, I know it's just a matter of entering. Sometimes you do study on your own thing. I'm sure you looked into Carl Jung's works, and if you have anything to add to this that you can, you know, I learn too. I'm not just here talking. I still have a lot to learn. You guys help me out a lot too, each and every one of you. But if you have anything you want to add to that, but we're talking about basically, yeah, the shadow. But integrating that shadow, and I guess in our own way, I mean, it doesn't, you don't have to just follow exactly Carl Jung's philosophy. I think the bottom line is it's put into a certain amount of words. I mean, he's saying he described it as it was, the shadow function and the integration of the shadow. Now, I guess a lot of times part of the integration is, let's say you have some hidden angers, hidden rages about things. And of course, these come out every so often. And these are part of your shadows. They're not always negative, but I mean, I guess when you start integrating them, when you come to grips with what's bothering you, why you have these, a lot of times they give us a certain amount of strength. I mean, you think, okay, but they're negative, they're angry. Well, the thing is, I mean, they can turn into like a controlled amount of like strength. Because a lot of times we're held down by things we don't say. How many times have we say, I want to say this, I should have said this, but I kept my mouth shut. And then later on, hours later, of course, and as we always rethink a conversation, why didn't I just say that? Why didn't I say it? So we're always bogged down by this. And a lot of times it's because these shadows are kind of bogging us down because they know if we say something, it'll reveal something that's deep down within ourselves that we harbor ourselves, and we don't want to bring it out. You see, by integrating these things, then it's no longer something you are not ashamed of, but you've came to grips with it, that this is what was bogging you down. You've had to see it, you've had to face it, and you've had to move forward from it. So it reinforces you. It somewhat reinforces your whole outlook. It reinforces a strength within you as well. Oh, fellow INFJ people. Hello there, Helen. Hello, there's somebody new out there. There's a new name, Helen AXD100. Fellow INFJ people, question mark. Hello. Yes. Just talk. That's exactly what this is. And but let me get back to it. Just talking about the shadow functions, by the way. Just talking about how integrating our shadow is basically, this is something that I'm trying to figure out exactly in the Freudian idea. I mean, excuse me, not Freudian, Jungian, Carl Jung, not Freud. There's a lot of Freudian stuff. Forget, hey, that was a Freudian slip. No pun intended, you know what I'm saying? Welcome, Helen, yes. So it's something to do with that idea too, is that actually taking some of these shadows. I mean, of course, we always have some repressed anger. And like I said, a lot of times we're ashamed of it. We know it triggers us. Sometimes somebody might say a certain thing, and whether they know it or not, it triggers us. Something that's part of that deep down part of us that we're repressing. And they may trigger us, and we might lash out and say, "You don't know what you're talking about. You lash out. You became irrational for a minute because they triggered something." And these are part of those shadows that you're repressing, that you have not integrated. So a lot of times, these are what are going to happen if you aren't facing these as you're going along. So I guess by integrating them, not accepting them, accepting the fact that you have these shadows, accepting them, being aware of them, knowing that they're keeping you down, that these are these subconscious things that have to be allowed to get into the consciousness as well. And so I guess bottom line is, it's just a matter of that's part of the integration. Again, I got a lot to learn about this stuff. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm an expert on Carl Jung. I'm really not, but I'm still a student here, and but I'm seeing this stuff. But the thing is, what gets me is some of the things I say on this channel, some of my videos, without even knowing it. I mean, it's kind of in that idea, without the same speak, without the same terminology that's being used. I kind of say things similar to that, just on things I found out on my own. So I don't know. I just found that to be a little bit interesting. So, but again, I'm going to have to do my research a little bit more, and eventually I'm going to have to think about it a little more. It's already in the mind. I already threw it in there, some of this stuff, and I got to gather a little bit more and throw it in there and get it working so I understand it. But I notice sometimes, as you know, right? It takes us time. Sometimes we get this information and we don't figure it out all at once. You don't just memorize it. You got to think about it, rethink about it, kind of get it, and then things start solidifying in your mind. You start understanding it. You get, it takes tentacles. Tentacles start coming out, and then the mind starts getting a grip on it as to what it really means, right? So I guess that's basically it. Oh, so we got here. Nice to meet you guys. Yes, nice to meet you too, Helen. Okay, and I feel like I was meant. Okay, John, I feel like I was meant to dark. I was meant to dark, but I got control over it. When you say meant to dark, but got control over it. Yeah, me too. I do remember growing up having some certain deep down issues in myself as well. And there were certain things that were really, just, I think a lot of them, I mean, especially just being INFJ, just having certain drawbacks that, as far as like the masculinity things, a lot of times INFJ men cope with the idea that they're too sensitive, and that they may come across as a bit too effeminate to some people, and they get razzed for that. So then they go through a lot of their life trying to a lot of times people overcompensate for certain things. They think they're a certain way, they act a certain way, so they go all out of their way to overmask things. You see, when you just covered things up, you're just trying to cover it, like, put a new costume on, put a new disguise on just to cover it. But really deep down, these things are still bothering you. That's not integrating your shadow. Integrating it is not covering it, isn't burying it. You have to bring those out. Basically, you're taking those costumes off, and you're letting this shadow. You're seeing it for what it is without fearing it anymore. You basically have to look at it, say, oh, no matter how awful it might have been, no matter how much it was disgusted you that you were who you were, whatever it is, whatever the depths are. But you have to just kind of integrate these things and face them. I guess basically, like I said, look at them without reliving them, without hating them. Just say, okay, this is something I did, but you got to kind of just move past it. I mean, in a way, it's integrated by accepting them as well. Yes, Carl Jung, lots of PDF files for free. Yeah, that's what I mean. I looked at that. I looked at a just a free one on, like, just some web thing. Again, I'm still scratching the surface. I haven't read extensively on his work. I'm not like I haven't studied up on it, but there's a lot there to learn. Yeah, but the dude was deep, very deep. And especially introverted intuitives seem to gravitate toward him because he looked so much into that introverted intuition and described it and tried to bring that out into the forefront. And a lot of times, there's only a certain limited population that understands that. So a lot of times, if people were not into that intuitive thought, the sensitives probably couldn't grasp his terminology, his philosophy, because they couldn't see what that is. Now you get introverted intuitives, INs, and they see those things he was trying to steer in because he went so much into the introversion as well versus the extroversion. And that's where it seems we glom onto this kind of thing because we're part of it. We see it. And that it's like there's only a certain percentage that's able to. Because, again, INFJs are the rarest. Very rare. Okay, then you got you got three other types. I mean, you got your main introverted intuitive types. And they have their own set of drawbacks. But the thing is, they're all deep in their mind. INFPs, INTJs, INTPs, and INFJs. They all have their own depth that they see. Now, their alignments vary. The other two that make them think just a little bit different. I mean, of course, INTJs have that more of a logician thing. They're not so much feelers. They're making very logical decisions, while INFJs think a little bit more emotional. They take people's consideration. They take how it might affect other people into their lives and how they make a decision. Well, the TJ doesn't do that. You see, it's more like just what is the most practical, most logical, what makes the most sense. You see, but bottom line is, we all think. We all have our own deep introversion in those conclusions, and we're always in our head in some way. Okay, what do we got here? Yep, Carl Jung. There's a lot PDF. Yep. I feel like I was meant to be. Oh, yeah, I got that too as well. Okay, and the shadow is negative. People think that negative is bad, but it's the other half of the positive. Very young, I was aware that I had to embrace my shadows. So just instinctively, you knew that, huh, Jethro? Yeah, instinctively, you had to embrace your shadows. When you say integrating your. Hello there. This is Robo Guy 3000. When you say integrating your shadow, does that mean accepting those darker parts of you and not letting them cloud your mind with self-doubt, or is it something else? See, this is stuff I'm just trying to figure out. I think what it means is by integrated them, it doesn't mean you don't want to embrace them. You don't want these things to come out. In other words, some people say, like embrace your dark side, like the way in Star Wars. Remember when Palpatine tried to say he gaslit Anakin into thinking, the Jedi would never tell them or educate them about the dark, unnatural forces of the dark side. Remember that? Now, not Palpatine, not saying you have to turn dark. No, you don't want to embrace the dark side. And that's not what we're saying. By integrating them, it's bringing them from the unconsciousness into your consciousness. Okay? Basically, what it's saying is you have all these repressed memories, you have these repressed things within yourself that you try to keep hidden, but you want to basically integrate them into your consciousness, because a lot of times we act on these unconscious uh, shadows, because they're so deep and dark. A lot of times we act on them. We project these things onto other people. We might say, other people are what we're thinking. What's our deep dark secrets we'll put onto other people. Just or we just might lash out at them when they get too close at scratching the surface. In other words, by integrating them basically means pulling them out of the unconscious into the consciousness. Basically facing them, accepting them for what they are, looking at them without disgust, without reliving them, without trying to repress them, without hiding them. Because when you're hiding them, it's like this is your fear of them. And when you have fear of them, they're going to keep bubbling up. They're going to keep coming back at you. You're never going to resolve them. So by bringing them into your consciousness, you're able to look at them objectively, look at them, see them, but in a way of not reacting to them. Being strong enough to say, okay, this is what it was, this is what was bothering me, and just getting a grip on it. And at this point, when you integrate it and accept it in that way, it's no longer going to be that sub control over you that makes you lash out or react to it. Okay, I hope I answered that. So basically, this is how I understand it, and that's just basically what I've been talking about right along. Basically, it's just facing our own set of issues within ourselves. What do we got here? Okay, so that was a very good question, though, and this was from Robo Guy. I want to welcome you. That's the first time I've seen your name. And welcome. I've seen a lot of you already here. I've seen a couple, but there's some new names. But I want to say hello to you. Okay, so yes, embrace. Yes, embrace is it myself. Yep. Jethro, yes, perfect. So you think that was a good explanation? That's basically the way I've interpreted what it means. All right. Yay. You do have to embrace your dark side. That's why people in general don't work on it, because it's very difficult. It's difficult to be bad, but it's who we are. Yeah, I mean, we definitely have a certain hair trigger anyway. I mean, we can be very, INFJs tend to be very, yeah, they're the helper types. They're the helper type people. But once they feel uncomfortable or that you're being taken advantage of, they can cut you off very quickly as well. Now, is that part of a dark side? Is that part of embracing it? In some way it is, yeah, because we just know right away we're going to nip something right at the bud before it festers, before we start getting it to fester. We'd rather just eliminate that in our life, or somebody. That's the whole door slam. It may seem brutal, but it's self-preservation. But I guess embracing the dark side, or you don't want to, like I said, you're not Jethro. I mean, you talk about it like embracing it. Now, not so much like I said, Anakin embraced Darth Vader. Now he turned very dark. It's like he kind of transmogrified, and he let his anger. In fact, he was encouraged by Palpatine to let his anger out. Remember, by letting that anger flow through him. No, that's not what it is. See, this is a good example. I know we're going to use Star Wars, just a movie reference, to say it shouldn't be that. You don't want to embrace it in that dark way. You don't want this anger stuff to govern you, to flow through you like that. No, but you want to know that these things that made you, that kept you down, you're addressing them. You're facing them. But they're going to strengthen you, because there are certain strengths that we're built to have in. We are supposed to have certain times in our life where having anger, having trying to make a point with aggression, and in some ways it is needed. I mean, in some rare times. Now you look at our you look at our Lord. Look at Jesus when he entered the temple. Remember when he went into Jerusalem for the whole Palm Sunday, and he was welcomed then, and he went into the synagogue, and he saw it was a big money changing. The church became a money changing. They were taking the Roman dineros with the images of Caesar, and they were eliminating those for other tokens, because they were graven images or something. But it turned into a big corrupt. It wasn't even a place of worship. And Jesus got so infuriated that what did he do? He grabbed the whip and he started overturning tables, and he started whipping them out of there, and he got aggressive. This is the Lord doing that. Now, what did that? So there was a lesson to be learned from that. That he used aggression. He was angry, and he terrified a few people. His dark side, was that coming out of a dark side? But he did this because it infuriated him that the house of worship, his father's home, as he said, was a den of thieves, and it infuriated him. And he had nothing but to do but to get them out of there immediately. Like he just whipped them out of there. But I mean, was that an integration of his dark side? You see what I'm saying? Or was being that this is the Lord that did this? So this is an example of saying that, in some ways, I mean, we have certain repressed angers and things, but at sometimes they become our strengths in the right circumstances when anger is sometimes necessary in rare situations. I mean, it's hard to explain, but I mean, there's some lessons to be learned there. Yeah, we have to. Okay, so Jethro, it's like this INFJ ES extroverted sense is the weakest, but we have to work on it more than the IN. Same as with the shadow. Until you balance the light and dark, you have to take action in your dark, not just think about it. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, basically. So that's all part of the integration. Yeah. I guess like anything, everything's balanced. What was the old whole yin and yang theory? Was that one of the old? Some of the prophets or one of the wise men back in, I think it was. These are some of those old ancient Eastern philosophies of the yin and yang. Everything has to have a complete darkness or like an opposite. Like the whole yin and yang was that dark, and then it kind of had its own balance of light, but it completed a circle. Yeah. So it's something about the dark and the light have to be kind of integrated in such a way. They have to like work in a conjunction because, one has to balance the other, but it has to be a healthy balance. All right. I mean, darkness and you could say this, good is all good. Yeah. But there has to be balance with something just to make it all cohesive in some way. It's not easy. No, it's not easy. See, it's hard to explain even. I'm trying to sit here and explain it, what it is, what's on my mind, but even the explanation is kind of difficult because, well, part of it is I'm not like completely, totally understanding it. There's still a lot of gaps in there, like just figuring it out. But part of it is that, it's in a working progress, but I think a lot of times it's part of our life. It's not just a one-time thing. You don't say, okay, here you go. You understand this. It's part of your life. Like every day you got to be conscious. I mean, a lot of times it's living with the consciousness of understanding that these dark integrated shadows in our consciousness they're there. We may resolve them. We may resolve them, but new ones may come in, but we're also human beings, and sometimes we're going to have our moments of judgment or irrationality. But by getting a hold of these shadows, I mean, our irrationality is going to be more controllable. You see, we're not going to be so apt to lose control, lose our temper, lash out, things like that. That's part of what it is. That's what he meant, is because these repressed things are just behind the scenes, kind of pulling our strings. From like another room, like speaking, whispering in our ear, because we've integrated them, basically. I think that's the way I'm seeing it, okay? Kind of like that. But I know there was some other things on the Carl Jung thing, says, how do you do that? How do you find these things? Like sometimes people they like journal, like write down your dreams. Like, these were some Carl Jung points. And some of his patients, he'd have them dream. And then when they got up, well, tell me about it. Write down your dreams. And then certain things represented certain things, And a lot of times they might have looked like there was something outside of you. Like you were dreaming about something here, but it was really about you. Like some shadowy figure that was shunned or that was turned away. That was outside of you. But it was really a representation of yourself. Little things like that, like how you interpretate dreams. But again, these are still things I'm just kind of scratched the surface on, But I guess that was my subject of the day. That definitely was. I just wanted to being that it was just so new to me. I wanted to read a little bit more onto that, But I mean, it's an everyday work in progress. Like you said, Jethro, it's not easy because it takes our conscious effort every day to be in contact with ourself, with our basically ourself from the light, and and our dark side, and make sure that we're not harboring things. We're facing them, and if we see them come into our psyche, we got to know we're human beings and we react a certain way. Sometimes we react based on our fallen nature too. We got to understand it too. We basically have a fallen nature in ourselves as well. We sinned. We're products of original sin. Whether you want to believe that or not, we are. So we have a fallen nature. We're not a risen ape. We're a fallen being, basically. I know a lot of times people think we rose from the ape and we evolved. I mean, there could be evidence of that we were once animal. We have a body that's animal. But the thing is, they're not talking about that. We're infused with that spirit, and I've said that before. We have a spiritual side that divides us from just a common animal, and we're a fallen being. Because of original sin. So a lot of times we're going to be governed by this original sin until we are somehow pure of nature, saved, our salvation. We're always going to be subject to these certain pulling things. I mean, we're going to be subject to that fallen nature, that fallen being side, and of course our dark sides, and we're going to be governed by these things. So it takes a conscious effort to us always watching our thoughts, being mindful of our thoughts, watching where they go, how they steer us, and seeing how much we're believing those thoughts or not believing them or disregarding them. And the closer you get to having control of your mind, I think you start seeing these things and you just kind of see them, and they become irrelevant. Basically, you'll see these things trying to pull you over here, but they're just little whispers of nothing. That's where you want to train your mind, is that these shadows have been revealed, they've been integrated, but they're no longer, pulling you anymore. They're no longer governing the way the way you live your life, basically. All right? Okay, so Jethro, I'll tell you something about myself that I did to work on my dark side when I was young, and hopeful. Y'all don't judge me, but I help understanding working on my dark side. I'll tell you something about I'm just trying to get the gist of that, Jethro, about myself that I did to work on my dark side when I was young. Hoping y'all didn't judge me, but it will help understand working on the dark side. Yeah, no, I'm just sometimes. I just try to understand exactly, because you've talked about this too, about whenever I bring this up, I can tell you did your homework on this, Jethro, and you seem like you know a lot, and I'm trying to learn a little bit, you know. When I was young, I didn't want to hurt bugs. I wanted to help everyone, not to take from people, hurt people, and to see people steal. I didn't like that and wanted to know what it was like to steal. But I wanted to know what it was like to steal. Okay, I was the same way. I never hurt bugs. I was kind of sensitive to seeing on people like, yeah, I was the same way. All right, but I always knew stealing was wrong. I mean, hey, listen, I did stupid things in my life. There's a couple times I'm not a perfect kid, and I did dumb things in my reckless youth. And I remember getting into stealing stuff a little bit, and it just always come back where it was. I just knew it wasn't right, and I never stayed with it. But if that's what you mean, I've done that, and I just know that I know you know, it was something I didn't want to continue doing. I knew it was just going to lead you to. I just knew it was like, if you want something, you got to work for it, earn what you get. You can't think you're going to take it from somebody. But the best, in doing that, I learned more about my dark side. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I mean, learning about your dark side. I think a lot of just learning it is just knowing that it is in our nature. I think it's part of our human nature. It's just who we're born with, that dark side. I mean, and how it's festered, how it's nurtured, and how it what your set of morals are, how you're raised. A little bit has to do with your upbringing and what lessons you've learned based on that, or didn't learn, and how you embrace your dark side. Yeah, it's just a lifetime of understanding yourself as well. As INFJs, we don't like to steal, but that's part of the shadow. Yeah, like I said, hey, look, Jethro, it's funny you said that, but listen, I'm not a perfect guy. There's a couple times in my youth, yeah, I got tempted to take something that wasn't mine a few times, and I didn't feel that good about it. I tell you one thing, sometimes when I do something I wasn't supposed to do, it never felt right. Like it bothered my conscience. It really did, you know? So I think we're supposed to learn from that. It's supposed to bother us a little bit when we do things we shouldn't be doing. And these are things we're supposed to just keep in the back of our mind for the rest of our life. We're supposed to be learning from these as we go along through life as well. Be constantly aware of things. So, well, that's yeah. So Jethro, you must be you're not working today. Oh, because I mean, actually, yeah, I got to go to work and I got to work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But I figured I already had a time. I'm gonna do this for a little bit of time, but eventually I gotta do that. Yeah. So, okay. So, all right. So we have 11. We have 11 watching out there. That's good. Some new, some stuck around, and some are just kind of hanging around, trying to hear what we got happening over here. All right. So we are. Let's see. As NFJs, we don't like. Oh yeah, I already read that. Jethro's giving me some good input. Oh, by the way, are you watching some of these rebroadcasts, Jethro? I've been starting to, as I do these lives, I put a thumbnail on them, I put a description on them, and I send them out, and I put them out there now. Thanks to you, Jethro. By the way, I never knew what I had to do, so I still want to thank you. So I've been doing that regular now. Yeah. Oh, you got fired. Oh, come on, man. Oh, shoot. Why'd you get fired? What happened? What? Gee. Yeah, man. You need a job, though. I mean, hope, that's too bad, man. Definitely need to get a job, though. Gotta have something. I told a bad joke. Is that it? Oh, I know. And you told a bad joke and you got fired. Yeah, but you know what? You got to be careful. Nowadays in the workplace, you got to watch what you say. If you say a bad joke and you even just make a comment that just bothers somebody and makes somebody uncomfortable, and yeah, that's gonna, if it get reported to HR or the boss, and they start writing down little files on you, you do it enough times, you're gonna get fired, man. This day and age it's tough. I mean, especially if you work. Now, look, I work on a job where I'm blue collar. I work with a bunch of guys, and usually they're not going to say stuff, you know. But if you're working in a bank or an office, and you got men and women, you got mixed races, not mixed race, you know, you got, and you can't say certain things. I don't know what the joke was, but you gotta be very careful nowadays. I mean, that's life in 2026. You know, it was a really dark joke, but I asked if I could tell it then. They went to HR. Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, no matter what, man, when you're at the work office, you got to be careful. You got to be very professional at work. It's best just to do your job, keep it professional. Uh, just keep your. I mean, if you know you're a bunch around guys that are just, mechanics, and if you work in a shop, you know the environment you're in. You could probably get away with saying things. Now, I've always worked in shops and things like that, and mechanic shops, tire shops, and the filthiest mouths on earth are in some of these shops. The F bomb is just is slung around like nothing, right? So yeah, there's certain places you can get away with it, but not every place. All right, and definitely not an office situation. All right, and especially I've noticed too, a lot of times the younger generation. Now, I'm not speaking for all of them. I'm sure there's some that are, but they're very very sensitive about words nowadays, and jokes and what they're referred to. So depending on the company you're in, man, you gotta watch your mouth. Because it was a bad joke you told and it got you fired. Yeah, that's something. Yeah, you got to be careful, man. I hope you get a job. I hope that that doesn't follow you around too long. Anyway, really. So, but I'm just checking things out. Okay, okay. One came in, and there you go. All right. Or I just had to take a look at something. Jason's out there. Wow, Tom Bond is live. How we doing, buddy? Jason, good to see you. How's it? I'm doing just fine there, sir. And how is it in your part of the world there? In the UK, that is. I'm gonna say it's probably I'm gonna say it's later evening for you right about now, or just early evening, whatever that might be. Maybe you're out of work, but it's doing well. Very cold, huh? Is that right? Very cold. Yeah. And actually, where I'm at right now, it's I'm up in the northeast of the United States, as you know, New Hampshire. Yeah, I'm in New Hampshire, people, and it is starting to feel like spring slowly. I look out my window right now. Snow's starting to melt. It's 57 degrees. Maybe that's cold to you. That is Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius out there. I'm not sure, but it's well above freezing. So all the snow's melting off my roof right now. So I consider that warm. Maybe 57 degrees might be cool to somebody, but to me it's nice and warm. Yeah, I just had a winter where it was 10 degrees was the average, it seemed like. So to me it's getting better. So yeah. No, we were just talking about the shadows and talking about the basically how the shadow and how we integrate the shadow. I've been just looking a little bit more onto the more to the 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 studying up on that basically, and it's just. But I'll tell you, but the practice is, people. It's not something you just one and done. It's something you got to do every day. You got to focus on yourself and and all that. So you got to keep an eye on your shadow functions every day, and you got to be mindful constantly, basically, and making sure that those shadows don't basically take over everything, basically. Yeah. So, but anyways, good to see you out there. Good to see some regulars coming in here. Awesome. Yeah. All right. And okay, so we got Jason. It's never. I never done. You just got to be aware. I never done. You just got to be aware. Of course. Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, you just got to really watch thoughts. It all comes down to that. Just not getting hung up. And a lot of times, being that we're INFJs, and of course, we have a very, very active mind anyway. And sometimes that active mind of ours can get overactive. And of course, like it never stops. It's a racing. And I've noticed though, the more erratic my mind was, the more thoughts I had, and the more I was just caught up in them. When I was caught up in these, and every thought that came in, it was like part of you. That's what it really confused me. What helped me the best was my meditation, and I found a way of just separating my thoughts, separating and finding the stillness within me, with a meditation practice. And I started just seeing my thoughts as separate from my mind. Like it's a way of kind of taking your mind and segregating it in such a way. And I've talked about that before, where you find that eye of the storm, that eye of the hurricane. Now, I know you've heard this before, but that's basically a lot of where I find a relief from my mind. And you're able to watch your thoughts much better that way too. Once you separate them and they're outside of they're outside of you. And because you're emanating from your stillness, you're emanating from that eye of the eye of the hurricane, that silent eye, and your thoughts now are outside of you, yeah, and then you're able to kind of focus on them better. You're not being pulled into them. They're not just engulfing you, and once they know that and then they start they kind of go away a little bit. These negative thoughts just go because there's really no point to them, because they're just being ignored anyway. It's almost like, somebody's always trying to get your attention, and the more you respond to it, they just get louder, right? People do that. They'll start calling you every name in the book, or they'll start throwing things at you. And if you just get angry, and if you just react and you get upset and you throw things back, or you throw names, they laugh at you. First of all, it's funny because then they're getting charged that you're reacting. You know how people react. That's what kids did. Remember? But if you ignore them, and don't pay them mind, they get less quiet and less quiet. Then finally they just give up, right? Your mind does the same thing. Your mind is the same way. There's almost like when you separate your mind, it's that same human nature that we saw from the outside world, from what people do to you. Your mind's the same way. Eventually, it just has nothing to. It's not pulling you anymore. It's not governing your response. So it kind of fades away. It's funny how that works, but that's how your mind works. Yes, your shadow. Oh yeah. So you're just talking about the shadow function again, right? Yeah. But that's basically what I like to talk about a lot here is how we as INFJs, how we somehow get a hold of our mind so we can just live better lives. I mean, it reaches a point in our life anyway that we need to start to basically find control over it anyway. That's all. Okay. So we have 10 watching. Somebody joined while I was in here. Somebody came into the chat as well. So, all right. Well, but if anybody has any other concerns, anybody has a question you want to ask, I got enough time. I got a little bit of time to answer some questions, or just get me talking. Just answer. Just put a really good deep question in there. It'll put me into another rabbit hole, as you might say. I said, like I said, John. He says he's got many rabbit holes too. That's part of it. I mean, that's the only way to describe it. You just jump down another avenue and you jump down a whole other topic, and you know. But but bottom line is that's basically what this is all about. Is somehow we need to have some kind of relief, and I think INFJs especially our minds need that relief. I mean, not just from time to time, but always. We know. But I can say one thing though, people. As long as you keep forging forward in your life, and you take all these forging moments, and a lot of times is being able to face the hardships in your life. It all comes down to this. I mean, we have a lot of those hardships where we constantly are being tested in our malice, in our just constantly. I mean, we may have our heart broken. We may have losses in our life. We may feel lonely, empty, vapid. We may feel those places in our psyche. As INFJs, we've all been there, people. We've been confused. We've been confounded, and we've been alone, and we felt isolated and just with no relief, and actually like left in a void with all these thoughts going in our head at one time, same time. You're confused, you're alone, you're lost, you're vapid, and you just have no answers, and you don't even know. And you're in that heart, and you got nothing but to do is just think it's a sadness. It's a piece of sadness that we all go through. And how you handle this, a lot of times just coming through that, letting it be there, you kind of have no choice but to. But these are all parts of your development. These moments in your life, people, they may seem excruciating to you, but if you survive through them, if you go through these moments in your life and face them, and even though you don't have answers, and you let the pain be there, you're getting stronger. It is forging you emotionally, spiritually. You're getting stronger. You'll look back on these moments someday and say, these were all the necessary things that forged me into who I am. Hello, Jethro. Jason, yes. Oh, let's see. So, Jason, you said there's something I want you to watch on YouTube. Alan Watts, Stop Caring. The man is fantastic. So good, it's only 10 minutes. Oh, okay. So, Alan Watts, is he an INFJ? Is he into the MBTI? And it says just stop caring. Oh, okay. Yeah, I hear a lot of different INFJ content saying that as INFJs we have to just give up. We have to stop trying to. That FE almost becomes when we're reaching out and we're always trying to people please, or we're trying to reach out. We're trying to help others. We're trying to. A lot of times that's we got to stop caring. Basically, it's like we have to. That's part of the integrating of the shadow as well. Is that sometimes our shadow is what we're always kind of held to finding favor with other people. A lot of times, that's part of the shadow is that we're trying to overcompensate for some of the things that we lacked. Maybe we might have missed something, or sometimes we find ourselves giving too much to others in an overcompensation for ourselves, and sometimes we gotta. But at the same time, it's draining us because we're out overdoing it. So we have to just stop caring. I mean, that's kind of what I hear a lot of content saying. You listen to him every day. He helps. Okay. And Kevin K. Hello there, chat man. How do you deal with not living up to your potential? And any advice for anyone living life after rehab? Oh, uh, I've never actually had, I mean, rehab as far as substance abuse, I'm thinking like rehabilitation, like alcohol or drugs. I've never actually had to go to rehab myself personally, although I have had bouts in my life early on where I had substance abuse that I was doing. But I did finally just outgrow it naturally, and I stopped doing that. And I haven't done drugs in years myself. But that's my own journey. But back when I was in my 20s, even into my early 30s, I was still, just doing like marijuana, a little bit of, sometimes do like street mescaline. Oh, that stuff's bad. Just stupid stuff, but nothing to where I needed to go to. So if anybody has any kind of, how do you deal with life after rehab? I mean, I could say one thing, you gotta obviously not find, not run from, but a lot of times is you got to find out what caused the problems in the begin with. You're running from something. I think a lot of times we use substances in our life to escape, and we a lot of times that's part of our shadows as well. I think sometimes the repressed memories and repressed things that are so painful in our life, and a lot of times we don't want to think them anymore. So we think that by taking substances or getting overly drugged or drunk, and it'll help us to forget. It may temporarily do that, but now you have to compound that you ran into the substance, and that depleted you even more. Now you have that the lack of your self respect that you went down that avenue. You took the weak way out. In other words, so that's only going to compound you. It's just going to add to your whole stress. I think a lot of times is living life after your rehab. Basically, you have to find out what caused your problems, face them without resenting them. Like I've been saying right along, I've been saying this right along, Kevin K, is that we have to somehow look at these things that we're running from, that we're running away from, escaping from, and integrate our shadow. Basically, that's what Carl Jung's philosophy was: facing them. I say face them head on. And sometimes we can't face them, keep resenting them, keep reliving them. We can't just keep resenting them over and over again, because this keeps us down, and then this weakens us, and then we want to run from it, and we want to look into narcotics to put out the flame of that of the pain that it's coming from that. So that might be the next step right there. All right. Well, that's all I can say is that I don't know if that's too much for you at one time, but I mean I would say early on, make sure obviously you don't hang around with the people that are doing it. You got to break ties with friends that if you had friends you were drinking with or doing drugs with, you obviously stay away from those people. You got to find better avenues out for one. Okay. And maybe you just have to find whatever was steering you into that way. You have to you got to change your life a little bit. You just have to get healthy. Maybe start exercising. That might help you. I mean, even taking on physical activity. If you can start working out just slowly a little bit, that might it might give you another outlet instead of looking toward putting something in your body. And, maybe just start working out, work on your body, eat healthy, eat better food. And a lot of times just exercise will release certain endorphins in your body that help to just calm you down, relax you. In fact, I don't have them here, but I have where is he? He's not here now, but he talks about exercise and how that happens. So that's another way to do that. So get away from your old friends, maybe start eating better, maybe start working out, taking walks, go walk in nature, and just try to make your outlet be natural and not substantive. I mean, these are just small steps I can recommend. Okay, I'm sure there's a lot more things that we could say. There you go, Jason. He says exercise is helping him out, like he said, and I guarantee if anybody wants to add to that chat is some advice for Kevin on how to, get himself out of rehab. I'm sure watch some of the comments here. They might help you out as well. What I just said. Be grateful and love. Okay, Ed. Hello there. Hi, Tom. Hi to all people in the chat. Hello there. Ed, or it's Ed 2398. I think you left a comment on one of my pages. I did see just recently. I think it was on my one of my videos or something, and I do remember seeing you like you said. Oh, you wish it was a comment on one of my lives. I remember that. And you were studying for a test, and you were glad to read it. Now I think you left a question in there. I just haven't had a chance to answer it. Okay. Yes, exercise, be grateful and love yourself and the key. Yeah, so there's a couple things you can do out there. So I was just trying to address Kevin K. Hopefully that helped you out, Kevin, if you're still out there. All right. So, oh, it is finals this week. Yeah, you did tell me that. See, I remember that. See, I try to remember what people write here. I got a pretty good name. I got a pretty good idea for that for the most part. And when people are reoccurring, especially when I see them more, I remember you, especially if you leave an impact and I see your comments, and so yeah, it's almost like you get to be old friends in a way too. You know what I mean? Some of you out there, I'm like, hey, how you been? Fist bumps and all that. And hey, a couple nights ago, right? Friday night, we all we said, I don't know who was, I cracked a beer, like we were all having a beer together on a Friday night, and we did a live for a bit. Some of you guys were out there, right? Jason, I think you missed that one, but we missed you Friday, but it's okay. But sometimes we do stuff like that. I mean, not everybody shows up at the same time, you know? And sometimes we call it the Breakfast Club. Yeah, who remembers the Breakfast Club, where all those misfit kids had detention, but they all had different personalities. Remember that? And they all had their own set of problems, and they all they were the oddball, kind of the misfit types. And yeah, exactly. But the thing is, they got together and they got to be friends at the end. In fact, weren't they? They kind of helped each other in some subtle ways because of their differences. They kind of, I think you remember. Some of you remember I made that reference before. Yeah. So, oh my gosh. So we got 2:30. All right. So I've been here for 78 minutes. We got 12 watching. Yeah, but that was a good question. I'm glad you asked that question, Kevin. If you're still out there, I mean that's some of the advice we got there. So, have you a valuable piece of advice? Okay, amazing movie. Oh yeah, are you asking me if I have a valuable piece of advice, Ed? Can I call you Ed or no? Valuable piece of advice. I don't know. There's so many things. I mean, I think there's so much that I say here in the course of a live or like a lot of my shorts and videos. I try to throw little bits of advices right along the way. Do that quite a bit. So, Emma, what does that mean? Oh, so thanks. It's been 7 months clean, but I still get depressive thoughts. But I'm better now. I have finals coming up. Doing it. Okay. Oh, I was referring to Jason's comments to live a healthy. Oh, okay. That's what I say. I wasn't sure who you were referring to. If you were talking about somebody else, that's fine. That's exact. I wasn't sure. I have to assume that when these comments are coming up, that they're, directed at me. But no, that's okay. Don't worry about that. No, you talk much. A lot of times in these chats, you're talking to everybody on your own too. That's okay. Well, that's good, Kevin. You've been 7 months clean. That's good. So 7 months, you're on a good path. Just you got to make sure you. I think bottom line is you have to look at the progress that you're making and be happy with it. Hey, listen, if you have the INFJ tendency, also, you have to also have you have to kind of ignore your introverted feeling as well. Sometimes we're our own worst critic out there, Kevin. As INFJ men especially, we have a very difficult times sometimes with self-esteem and self-worth. A lot of times we have to pep talk ourselves, not pep talk ourselves, but not listen to that voice in our head that's constantly criticizing us and cutting us down and telling us we're not good enough. You got to ignore that. That's something that's like part of your shadow. That part of us that's always criticizing us. It's like a reverberation of what we think people are thinking of us. Okay, maybe early on in our life we were lectured for how we thought, the way we used to think. Maybe some of the ideas we had, and we were told not to do that, and so we repressed certain things that were our talents in our mind. We were talented in some ways, and we were told that these things were abstract, they were foolish, they were absurd not to do them. Maybe by our parents, so we repressed them, and then maybe we were told by people you weren't good enough, or maybe we listened to these voices and then we started telling ourselves that. So you got to watch out for your mind, Kevin. Make sure your own mind doesn't become your own twisted worst enemy, and that can do it as well. So, information technology, IT, yeah. Oh, information technology. Oh, well, I'm talking about introverted thinking is what that is. That's introverted thinking. Did I say introverted thinking? Yeah, I meant to say IF, your introverted feeling. Maybe I got that wrong. Introverted thinking is more what we have. That's our third function. I missaid that. Introverted feeling is what we think about ourselves. When we think a lot about how we feel about ourselves, this is where a lot of times we have a low opinion of ourselves. We may think of ourselves as not not worthy and worthless, and we're not good enough. And I know that's what I did a lot of times. I always had that thoughts in my head. These are the things that can become your worst enemy. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Introverted feeling. IT is your introverted thinking. But either way, IF is not part of your that's one of your sub functions. And a lot of times we tap into that, and that's where it leads us. Okay, what's going on, Tom? Ivan 357. Oh, hello there. I've seen you before. I'm doing well. It's good to see you joining the chat here. Okay. Kevin, start today and become meditation. Jason, meditation. Consistency is the key. Even if you do 5 minutes, I promise you will. To see, there you go. Jason, very good. He's talking. Kevin, have you tried meditation? That'll help you still your thoughts. There's some meditation techniques. A lot of it has to do with separating your thoughts from your stillness. It's a way of finding your inner self as well. Okay. But a lot of times, people tell you to meditate. Do they ever tell you how to meditate? There's got to be exercises. I do have a meditation video. It's an old one. I've been meaning to update that, people, about how to meditate. But if you ever look on my channel, on my inventory of videos, I recorded it about 7 months ago. It's one of my earliest videos I recorded, and it's in my inventory if you're ever curious. But it's a basic understanding of how the mechanics of meditation work. Just becoming aware of your body, trying to close your mind, you got to get out of your thoughts. Basically, it's a way of separating your thoughts, the stream of your thoughts, from your inner self, your inner stillness. Basically, it's finding that inner calm within yourself. Yeah, like I said, there's a video. It's just called meditation, and it's in my inventory if you want to look at it, if you're interested. I meant, but LOL. Okay. Listen to your breathe. Listen, just concentrate on your breathing. Yes, that's one of them. That's part of it. You got to get outside of your head. Basically, you try to focus outside of your mind. You got to get out of that swirling mind of yours. Yes. Okay. Hold on, people. I'm getting another phone call here. Hold on, people. All right. I'm going to have to call that number back. All right. I'm just going to let that one go for now. That could be somebody's calling me right now, so. But that was an area code. I'm going to have to just call that number back. That's all. Did someone order a pizza? Maybe they thought I was. I don't know if it was a wrong number. I just didn't want to get into talking to somebody right now. I mean, obviously, I can't just say, "Okay, chat. I gotta be. I get. Let me take this call." You know, it's like I'm in the middle of a broadcast here. Sometimes you just. It's like, all right, I'll just get back to you. All right. I'm kind of busy right now. I'm with other. This isn't like something I'm just gonna. Hey everybody, hold on. I got a phone call. I want to keep half you people out here in the world listening to me. Come on, you don't do that. That's rude. Yeah. Okay. So, but I'll get back to that. That's all. Yeah, but sorry, I couldn't hold myself, people. But yeah, so I hope you definitely. So Kevin, man, that's definitely something. I hope that you can get resolved there. You've been clean for 7 months though. You're on a good path though. I hope we helped you out a little bit there. So did somebody order pizza? Yeah, Domino's, right? Yeah, but as far as that goes, so now I'm a little bit off track here. I had a certain monologue. We were talking about. I originally was talking about integrating the shadow. I mean, go figure. I read a few paragraphs from Carl Jung on the internet here about integrating the shadow because I looked it up. I feel like I'm not an expert or anything, but I was just trying to get a little bit of an idea what it's about. But it sounds like a lot of you guys have looked it up. There's a couple of you guys that talk about the shadow and recognizing it and things like that. So it's all, you know. But that was originally what it was about here. Kevin, Kevin, you're doing well. 7 months is great. Yes, it is. It is. If he's still out there, that's very good work there. But yeah, see, we all have vices, and as INFJs, I think a lot of times we struggle with stuff like that, and not every one of us. Depends on who we are. I mean, some of us stay in these cycles, but you have a certain limited time. Your body will eventually start catching up to you too. I mean, a lot of times we think when we're young we can inhale this marijuana, we can smoke, we can drink, we can do these drugs, but eventually it shortens your life. I mean, we've been told that. This is common knowledge to know that we abuse our body, we're going to die quicker. I mean, there's only a number of years before your body starts to reject these things. You know that? You might take maybe alcohol. I mean, eventually it'll just, you'll keep needing more and more in order to escape. And then the fire you've been trying to put out is never going to be the substances. And not to mention, you start taking prescription drugs, mind altering chemical drugs. And over time, these side effects they start to do a number on your brain even. They start killing dope, receptors and things like that. They dull your mind. So you really eventually have to wean off a lot of these things. Everything catches up to you. Everything's going to start to bite you in the rear end eventually. So, Kevin, okay, I smoked weed for years. I know how hard it is. Yes, you told me that before, Jason. We talked about that on the last live on how we both in our youth were doing reckless, crazy things. And when you said things, I'm like, gosh, Kevin, man, you sound like, I mean, excuse me, Jason, the way you did the same things, man. We were reckless. I did a lot of stupid stuff. I mean, I used to do, like I said, mescaline, like that street mescaline that they used to say was half rat poison that they'd make in people's cellars with spaghetti. And now little purple microdots, they called them. I did stupid stuff like that. It was all just junk. And it was spacing me out, but I mean, it got me lost for a little bit. And then everything started to turn into a bad trip. Everything was bad. And then you start tripping on something, and I realized that it was more horrific than it was anything. It wasn't even enjoyable. I mean, I guess that's what happens when you take like low grade stuff too. If you get the really pure stuff, it's more, it's not as chaotic. But when you get the poison stuff, it's not good either way. But bottom line is, it's not good. Even if you take just mind altering LSD, like Timothy Leary used to talk about, is some kind of mind opening experience. Bottom line is, that stuff eventually it starts scrambling your mind too. I think a lot of times from what I heard, one of the dangers of taking too much LSD, for example, is it starts to inhibit your ability to know reality from your fantasy. In other words, your dream. When you go into a REM state or a dream state, there's something in our mind that tells us what is a dream. Especially when we wake up, we remember that as being a subconscious dream. But we also know we're in reality. Right now, I know I'm talking to you and I'm in my reality. And I know this is really concrete, tangible. Now, you start taking too much hallucinogenic drugs over the course of times, it starts to kind of tear down that wall between your dream and your reality. In other words, you might be sleeping, you might be, even after the effects are gone, that LSD is still in your mind and your brain, and I think you start dreaming things. And all of a sudden, a lot of times people think those dreams really happened. They'll start saying, oh, they'll start telling a story. They'll start thinking that this really happened when they are far-fetched. But it tears down that border between your fantasy, your dream state, into your reality. That whole line is blurred and pretty much worn out. I went ice fishing on acid in Canada. Canada! Yeah, that's quite an interesting. Yeah, yeah. One time I was up in the Lynn Woods, up in where my hometown back 20 years ago, and I was on a lot of it, and I heard these kids riding up in. I was in the Lynn Woods, basically a wooded area, and I was tripping out pretty bad, and I thought I kept hearing these motorbikes in the distance, and I kept thinking they were like people looking for me with chainsaws, and they were hunting me down. And once they caught me, they were gonna, they were gonna do bad things with these chainsaws to me. So I was quite terrified, and I believed it. So that's bad stuff. It's just bad stuff, you know. Uh, but I think we did a lot of bad stuff. I gave that, but that's part of just part of the journey we were on. But just awful stuff that we did. But bottom line, it's not good for your brain. So these things are definitely not the answers. I think as we grow up, though, I don't know about you, but I had the experience where eventually when I grew up, I realized I couldn't do these things anymore, that I had to finally put them off. I had to learn from them and and just never do them again. I really did. Okay. Okay. Well, I tell you, people, listen. I wanted to make this a short live because I have to go back to work. I've had a month off. I've had some things go on. I've had to take some time off. But today, I'm going back to work. Now, someday, I'd like to think this is work right here. I mean, maybe someday in the future, if I get this channel going enough, I'd like to think that this is work right here. But right now, I still have to go to an 8 to 5, or in my case, a 10 to 1. You know what I mean? Excuse me, a 5 to 1 and 5 in the afternoon to 1 in the morning is my shift right now. I got a night job, so. But bottom line is, I got to do that. But eventually, I'll come down to that. Hopefully. I mean, maybe in my retirement. That's why I figure if I get this channel going, if eventually I get it big enough, and maybe eventually it starts being like a job. That'd be awesome. And then I could do this for a living. You know what I mean? I'm not to that point yet. I'm not quite there yet. But that's part of what YouTube can do. But it usually takes a long time. It takes a lot of persistence and work to get to that point. You know what I mean? So, but the bottom line is, people, I hope you like the channel. If there's any suggestions you could make, you could always leave a message in the chat, or maybe even leave a message in a comment. If you think there's a certain video you'd like me to make addressed on a certain issue, a topic, I mean, I'd like to do that. Listen, I'm not like some kind of educated expert or anything like that, but I think I have a lifetime of wisdom and experience of living with the INFJ personality type, and that's basically my qualification that I can offer you. You know what I mean? I'm just a regular guy who works every day, but I've grown up with this personality, and I've survived this long, and I think I've done pretty well mentally, just in my life. I've come out pretty well. So that's my resume and accolades to you. So that's the best I can offer. But if you have any ideas, at some point you can leave comments either on this chat or leave comments somewhere. But I mean, but a lot of times you people help me out. Even just during these lives, you tell me a lot as well. I got to tell you, Tom, we love you, buddy. You've helped us so much. Well, thank you. Thank you. That's what I try to do. And you help me as well. You people get your own comments sometimes. You add your own 2 cents in, and you're brilliant. We're, just very brilliant, every one of you. So, well, anyway, so people, I'm going to have to do that. Maybe this weekend, though, when I have more time, I can have I usually unleash a little bit more. Some of you guys know that. Some of you guys know, like Friday nights or Saturdays, you see me unleash a little longer, go a little bit, when I'm a little bit less inhibited by things. But maybe I'm going to, of course, do another one on the weekends. Maybe do several on the weekends. I'll do some more lives. But I do enjoy the lives. These seem to really be some of the best part of this channel right now for me when I've discovered like the whole live concept, okay? But anyway, so people, anyway, wherever you are in your part of the world, I want you to have yourself, spring is here. And in some cases on the southern hemisphere, autumn is here for you as well. So depending on where you're from. But people, I want to thank you so much for showing up today. And if anybody is new here, anybody saw me and you like what you see, hit that subscribe button, give me comments and let me know you like this content. And like I said, in the content, if there's anything you'd like to ask or even a video or a suggestion, something that you need help with, I'll try to do it. I mean, you give me some suggestions and I'll try to do my best to accommodate that. Okay. All right. So people, thank you so much for your time. Check out some of my other videos. If you're curious, there's a whole inventory of things. They're not really in order. Someday I should probably find a way to organize my own videos in categories. I got to find different ways of organizing my channel. But there's quite a bit of material out there. And I think I cover a lot of different aspects onto the INFJ personality type as well. So feel free to definitely cycle through some of the inventory and find out something. And like I said, I said before, Kevin, if you're still out there, there is a meditation exercise. It's one of my earliest videos. And so it says right on there, the thumbnail says meditation, and it'll give you some basic directions on how to focus your mind and how to become objective and things. But I understand too, if you do start meditating on a regular basis, and it's something you have to do, you have to incorporate into your life as you would eating, sleeping, exercising, working, meditating. It's all part of your life. It has to be incorporated as part of your life functioning. Okay, but being INFJs, I think it's very essential. It's essential. Our type is very prone to needing to have some kind of centering way of finding relief from our mind. Okay, and it'll help you sleep way better too. I think it will. It'll kind of help you get better sleep because we get sleep problems too, most of us, right? That's another thing. All right, well, people, I have to go get ready for work, so I got to go put my stuff together, okay? All right, so people, thank you so much for attending. And as I say, I try to end every one of my broadcasts. Thank you so much, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day. And I'll see you again next time. Thank you again. All right.